Are your thyroid supplements secretly fueling Hashimoto's? Some thyroid supplements quietly make Hashimoto's worse. You cut sugar, you buy the fancy multivitamin, you add a thyroid support formula with iodine, selenium, maybe seaweed, because the label promises energy, metabolism, and immune support. And yet your fatigue is worse. Your hair is still all over the shower floor. Your labs bounce around. One visit, your antibodies drop a little. The next, they spike for no obvious reason. If that feels uncomfortably familiar, this video may explain why. With Hashimoto, some of the very nutrients we're told are essential for thyroid health can quietly cross a line from support into sabotage. Not because they're evil, but because in autoimmune thyroid disease, context matters more than the label. Hashimoto is not just a slow thyroid, it's your immune system confusing your thyroid with a threat and attacking it. Your thyroid hormones matter, of course, but they're only part of the story. In this context, nutrients don't behave like neutral wellness sprinkles. They behave much more like medications. Dose, timing, and your personal situation decide whether they help or harm. In this video, I want to walk you through 4 forgotten checkpoints that most people with Hashimoto have never had explained in plain English. Iodine, the essential nutrient that can backfire in excess. Selenium, the antioxidant bodyguard that helps some people but not everyone and has an upper safe limit. Iron and ferritin, the iron story that can make your thyroid meds look like they're not working. And vitamin D with B12 alongside it, quiet players that shape how your immune system behaves and how much energy you actually feel. And then I want to draw a very clear line between 2 completely different approaches. Let me test first, then target what's missing, versus let me throw every thyroid supplement in my cart and hope something sticks. Here's my first big opinion, and I want you to really hear this. In Hashimoto, supplements are not safe until proven harmful. They're neutral until they're proven helpful for you. The standard medical playbook focuses comprehensively on TSH, T4, maybe T3, and the decision, do we start or adjust levothyroxine? That's important. For many people, especially once the thyroid has been significantly damaged, thyroid hormone replacement is the foundation of treatment. But if the conversation stops there, you're left to play supplement roulette on your own. You're tired, maybe scared of long-term medication, you search at 2 a.m., and the internet happily sells you every pill ever linked to thyroid function. So let me ask you something, and be brutally honest with yourself. Are you currently taking any thyroid or immune supplement that you've never actually matched to a lab result or a documented deficiency just because the bottle sounded convincing? If the answer is yes, or even I'm not sure, that's exactly where people get caught in the iodine and selenium trap, while iron, vitamin D, and B12 quietly sit in the background, ignored. In a moment, we're going to turn this into something very practical. But first, let's start with checkpoint 1, iodine, because this is where a lot of well-intentioned people accidentally pour gasoline on the autoimmune fire. Most of us grew up with a simple story. Your thyroid needs iodine to make hormone. If you're tired, maybe you need more iodine. That's like saying your car needs gas, so just keep filling the tank. You can't really overdo it. But you can overdo it, with gas and with iodine. Your thyroid has a Goldilocks zone for iodine. Too little is a problem, but too much is also a problem, especially if you already have Hashimoto or a family history of thyroid disease. Large population studies have shown that when iodine intake jumps through iodized salt or very high iodine diets, rates of autoimmune thyroid disease also rise in people who are vulnerable. Now translate that into everyday life. You use iodized salt. You eat out a few times a week. Restaurants are generous with salt. Your multivitamin quietly adds another 150 micrograms. Then a thyroid support pill drops another 150 to 300 micrograms on top, often from kelp or seaweed, which can be wildly inconsistent in content. On paper, each item looks reasonable. Together, day after day, you may be stacking iodine far past what your thyroid is comfortable with. No one has ever looked at your total intake. No one has ever asked. Your doctor might not even know how many different sources you're getting because iodine was never more than a passing comment. Meanwhile, in an autoimmune thyroid, sudden or chronic excess iodine can increase oxidative stress inside thyroid cells and potentially stimulate more antibody activity.
It's like turning the brightness up on a light bulb that already has a crack in it. If your antibodies creep up, or you feel more jittery and then more exhausted, it's easy to blame age, stress, or just Hashimoto being Hashimoto. But in the background, your thyroid may be getting hammered by a nutrient that was supposed to protect it. So what does a realistic iodine checkpoint look like? For most people, it starts with a simple audit, not an exotic iodine test. Are you using iodized or non-iodized salt at home? Are you taking a multivitamin with iodine? Does your thyroid or metabolism supplement list kelp, bladderwrack, seaweed, or iodine on the label? Do you regularly eat seaweed snacks or sushi with nori? If you're saying yes to several of those, you may not be iodine deficient at all. You might already be at or above what your thyroid needs, even if no one has ever told you that. That's why my stance is, most people with Hashimoto should not casually add extra iodine supplements on their own. If your diet is reasonably varied and you use iodized salt, you may already be covered. In some situations, especially where there's a clear deficiency, iodine can be part of a thoughtful plan, but that decision should be made with your doctor, not with a YouTube ad or a supplement dial. So, the iodine rule of thumb for Hashimoto is simple. First, remove obvious excess. Then, only if there's a clear reason and real data suggesting deficiency, carefully correct it slowly and with supervision. Now let's flip the story and talk about checkpoint 2, selenium. Selenium is like the thyroid's in-house antioxidant bodyguard. It's part of enzymes that protect thyroid tissue from oxidative damage and help convert T4 into T3. That sounds amazing, and it's why you see headlines like "Selenium lowers antibodies" and supplement companies putting halos around it. There are studies showing that modest doses of selenium can lower certain thyroid antibody levels in some people with Hashimoto, especially where selenium intake from food is low. Some patients feel a bit better, ultrasound images sometimes look calmer, but this is the nuance you rarely hear. The results across studies are mixed. A drop in antibodies on paper doesn't always translate into "I feel like a different person" in real life. And selenium has an upper safe limit. Go too high for long enough and you risk nail and hair changes, digestive upset, and in extreme cases, toxicity. So again, the question is not, is selenium good or bad? The real question is, do you have any reason to believe you're low in selenium, or are you just taking it because someone online called it a magic Hashimoto pill? Look at your current supplement stack in your mind right now. How many of those pills are there because of actual lab data, and how many are there because of marketing, fear, or hope? No judgment. If you've ever felt rushed or dismissed in appointments, it's completely human to try to take back control with supplements. They feel like action. But instead of thinking, "I need to collect all the thyroid nutrients," I want you to shift into, "I need to collect clarity." For iodine and selenium, that usually means 3 things. Map your intake, salt, food, multivitamins, or thyroid formulas. Discuss with your doctor whether it makes sense to test for deficiencies. Consider a limited-time selenium trial if appropriate,
or deliberately avoid extra iodine. And set a time frame. We'll try this dose for this long and then recheck labs and symptoms, instead of, I'll take this forever because it sounds healthy. In a moment, we'll move to checkpoints 3 and 4, iron, ferritin, vitamin D12, and B12, because these are the ones that can make your thyroid treatment look like it's failing, even when the dose on paper is correct. Let's go there. Checkpoint 3 is iron and ferritin, and this is the one that tricks so many people into saying, thyroid meds just don't work on me. If you've ever thought, I'm on medication, my labs look okay, and I'm still exhausted, or my hair keeps thinning no matter what we do with the dose, there's a real chance iron stores are part of that story. Your body doesn't just need thyroid hormone floating in the blood. It needs the tools to make and use that hormone properly. One of those tools is iron. The thyroid enzyme called thyroid peroxidase, or TPO, is iron-dependent. If iron is low, that enzyme doesn't work well. Hormone production and conversion can slow down, and your symptoms can stick around. At the same time, low iron and low ferritin, your iron storage protein, bring their own symptom list. Fatigue, shortness of breath on exertion, restless legs, hair shedding or thinning, feeling cold and weak. Sound familiar? That's also the greatest hits playlist of hypothyroidism.
So when Hashimoto and low iron coexist, you get a double hit of the same symptoms. By the time you're in your 40s, 50s, or 60s, several things can quietly drain iron. Heavier periods in the perimenopausal years, eating less red meat, long-term acid-reducing medications. None of this is rare. That's why when someone with Hashimoto has almost normal TSH but still feels like a truck ran over them, one of the simplest but most powerful questions to ask is, can we check my iron panel, including ferritin, not just my TSH? That usually means ferritin, serum iron, and some measure of iron binding or saturation. And here's my opinionated line. Adjusting thyroid meds without knowing ferritin is like turning up the thermostat when your house still has broken windows. You're pushing harder on the wrong part of the system. But just like with iodine and selenium, blindly swallowing iron pills is not the solution. Too much iron is inflammatory and can damage organs over time. So the rule holds: test first, supplement if needed, then recheck. Alongside iron, we have checkpoint 4, vitamin D and B12. Quieter but very important players. First, vitamin D. Vitamin D deficiency is common in autoimmune conditions, and Hashimoto is no exception. Studies have shown that many people with autoimmune thyroid disease have lower vitamin D levels, and that correcting clear deficiency can reduce thyroid antibody levels in some cases and support overall immune balance. It doesn't turn off the disease, but it can take some pressure off the system. So what does that mean practically? Vitamin D is probably not your magic thyroid cure. But if you're deficient, bringing your level into a healthier range can gently support your immune system, bones, mood, and muscles. High-dose vitamin D for long periods can cause problems, so again, this is not about guessing. It's about knowing your number and working with your doctor. A great question for your next appointment is, what was my last vitamin D level, and do you think it would help to move it into a stronger but still safe range for me? Then there's vitamin B12. People with autoimmune thyroiditis have a higher rate of B12 deficiency and pernicious anemia, another autoimmune condition that affects B12 absorption. Low B12 can bring deep fatigue, brain fog, numbness or tingling in hands and feet, balance issues, and mood changes. Again, symptoms that can be mistaken for just thyroid stuff. If you're 40, 50, 60 plus, living with Hashimoto, and you've never really seen your B12 number, or it was borderline and brushed off, that's a red flag. Some people need ongoing B12 support, sometimes even injections, not just a multivitamin once in a while. So I want to invite you into another honest check-in. When was the last time you saw your ferritin, vitamin D, and B12 results with your own eyes? And did anyone actually connect those dots to your fatigue, your hair changes, your flares, or were they dismissed as good enough for your age? Because this is the pattern across all 4 checkpoints. Iodine, essential but risky in excess. Don't casually pile it on. Selenium, potentially helpful in modest doses if you're low, but not a guaranteed miracle. Iron and ferritin, foundational for thyroid enzymes and energy. Low levels can masquerade as thyroid failure. Vitamin D and B12, immune and energy regulators that affect how you feel, not just what your TSH says. And all of them fit under one simple rule that can bring a lot of calm into this whole conversation. I call it the calm rule for Hashimoto supplements. Test, then supplement, not the other way around. You wouldn't pour random liquids into your car without checking the gauge. You wouldn't crank the heat in your house without looking at the thermostat. But many people with Hashimoto were never given any kind of gauge for nutrients. They were just told, these are good for the thyroid. So now, let's turn this into a step-by-step framework you can actually use in your next appointment. Step 1. Build your personal checkpoint list. Before you see your doctor again, grab a piece of paper or open a notes app and write 4 lines. Iodine and thyroid boosters, selenium, iron and ferritin, vitamin D and B12. Under each one, jot down 3 things. What you're currently taking, if anything, any past lab numbers you remember or have access to, and any symptoms that might be related. Hair changes, energy, mood, sleep, restless legs, brain fog, that kind of thing. You are not trying to self-diagnose. You're preparing to have a clearer, calmer, grown-up conversation instead of a rushed 5-minute visit you barely remember.
Step 2. Shift from, can I have this supplement, to, can we check this first? Instead of walking in and saying, should I take selenium? Or, can I take iodine? Try something like, can we review my vitamin D and B12 levels and see if they're in a healthy range for me? Could we check ferritin and iron? I've read that low iron can mimic thyroid symptoms, and my fatigue and hair loss are still a big issue. I'm already getting iodine from salt, food, and a multivitamin. Do you see any reason for me to add extra iodine on top of that? You're not demanding a specific treatment. You're inviting collaboration and showing that you're willing to be systematic, not impulsive. Step 3. Aim for reasonable ranges, not perfection. A trap many people fall into is lab perfectionism. If my ferritin isn't exactly this number, I'm broken. Or if my vitamin D isn't the same as that influencer's, I'm doomed. Real life is messier than that. The goal is not to chase one perfect number. It's to bring clearly low values, like ferritin, vitamin D, or B12, into a healthier range. Avoid blasting already adequate nutrients, like iodine or selenium, up into risky territory. And pay attention to how you feel as those numbers change, not just what the printout says. A powerful question here is, what range do you feel comfortable with for my ferritin, for my vitamin D, and for my B12? If we supplement, when do you want to retest, and what would a good response look like? That turns random supplementation into something closer to a planned experiment with a follow-up, instead of an open-ended gamble. Step 4. Track changes calmly, not obsessively. Once you and your doctor agree on a plan, maybe adding iron for low ferritin, correcting a low vitamin D, trialing modest selenium if appropriate, or removing extra iodine, give it time. Think in terms of a 12 to 16-week chapter, not a 3-day miracle test. Autoimmune systems don't flip overnight. During that chapter, keep an eye on 3 things: key symptoms, fatigue, hair, mood, sleep, digestion, flare patterns; any new side effects, feeling jittery, palpitations, digestive changes; and the follow-up labs you agreed on. And hold on to this sentence, because it can lower your stress almost immediately. Supplements aren't villains,
blind supplements are. Iodine is not inherently bad. Selenium is not inherently good. Iron isn't automatically your friend or your enemy. Each of them can be a tool or a trigger, depending on your starting point and how they're used. Before we close, I want to be crystal clear about something important. I am not your doctor. This video is not medical advice. Please do not start, stop, or change any medication or supplement based only on what you hear online, including from me. Always talk with your physician or qualified healthcare provider who knows your history and can interpret your labs in context. My role here is to help you ask better questions, not to prescribe. Better questions lead to better conversations. Better conversations lead to better care. So let me leave you with one last reflection, and I'd love for you to really sit with it. If you stopped buying any new supplements for the next 90 days and focused only on understanding and optimizing the ones that actually match your lab results, how might your health, your wallet, and your peace of mind change? Because that's the deeper message. You don't need to swallow more hope in capsule form. You need clearer signals and fewer mixed messages inside your body. Today, we talked about the iodine and selenium trap, essential versus excess, the iron and ferritin piece that can make thyroid treatment look like it's failing, the vitamin D and B12 gaps that quietly shape your energy and immune tone, and the calm rule: test, then supplement, not supplement, then hope. In the next video, we're going to zoom out from the lab sheet and look at something just as important: why Hashimoto flares so often start in the gut, and how the gut-thyroid axis can either turn up the autoimmune fire or help cool it down. We'll talk about flare patterns, digestion, bloating, infections, and how stress and the gut lining fit into the same story as those antibodies your doctor keeps measuring. For now, if this episode helped you see your supplements a little differently, take one small concrete step today. Write down your current supplements and doses, mark which ones you actually have lab data for, and bring that list to your next appointment as your personal Hashimoto checkpoints sheet. Your thyroid doesn't need perfection. It needs partnership between you, your doctor, your labs, and yes, sometimes your supplements, used with intention, not desperation.